we're going to dive in here to some tips on how to do that, how to start kind of that reach out process. Really 4 major ways I think that student athletes can really prepare themselves for college coach communication. Number 1, it's an important one, but starting to figure out what kind of colleges you want to go to, narrowing down a list of potential schools that are going to fit you.
Yeah, and even to take a step back from that, before you start narrowing down that college list, you have to build a college list. You have to start with a list of schools that you would have potential interest in. And for some student athletes, this can be 20, 25, 30, 50, could be 100 different schools. And that's something we definitely would recommend, is keeping it as broad as possible. Cast a wide net early on in your process. Include as many different types of schools, regions, majors, division levels. If you can put together a list of 15 to 20 schools at the D1, D2, D3, NAI, junior college level, that's going to give you a solid starting point of just schools in general you might want to have interest in, or you could potentially see yourself going to and playing your sport there. From there, research the schools and narrow it down. Start to figure out what you're looking for in a school. What am I good enough to play at that school? If my list is all Power 5 conference schools, Alabama, Florida, Florida State, and I want to play football, and those are the only schools on my list, probably selling myself short, not giving myself a lot of options. So spread it out. Have some high D1s, mid D1s, low D1s, high D2, mid D2, low D2, and so on and so forth. That way you're not putting all your eggs in one basket. And what you'll see is you'll start to notice that these schools are interested in me, these schools are not. If you have the NCSA profile, you email a coach and they don't email back. They don't view your profile. They don't look at your video. They don't do any of those things. It might be safe to say they may not be interested, so you might not be a good prospect. It might not be a good fit for you. So that's how you can kind of start narrowing that down, is just knowing where you're going to be a good fit. And a lot of that will be from just whether or not you hear back from coaches at all, and whether to opening your emails or viewing your profile in some cases. And then from there, and David would probably talk a little bit more about this, then you can start emailing coaches that are actually paying attention to you as well. So the initial email gets you on their radar, and then start communication moving forward from there.
Right. So it's important for student athletes to do early on. Don't wait for coaches to find you. The worst thing you can do is just sit on your hands and wait back and hope that a coach discovers you. The more proactive you can be, the better. And a lot of times that includes an introductory email to college coaches. So every introductory email that a student athlete sends to a college coach should, number 1, demonstrate that that student athlete has researched the program and explains specifically why they would be a great addition to that team. Coaches can sift through the generic form letters that are just sent to 50, 100 different coaches. But if you can really include something specific about that program, make it personalized, make it memorable to that college coach so that you really stand out versus, again, just being kind of a generic blanketed email. A lot of times with that, you can do that right through your NCSA profile. You can include the link to your profile. It'll have your video. It'll have your transcripts, your grades, all the information that a college coach would need to be able to evaluate you and see if you're potentially a good fit, and if they want to continue that line of communication and keep you on their prospect list. So getting an introductory email, a great step for student athletes. Again, you can do that freshman year, you can do that sophomore year, but just know that if you're sending that to a D2 or a D1 school, they cannot personally respond to you until these important dates. So June 15th, again, for Division II for most sports in D1, but as we talked about, some of the sports are September 1st. Obviously, the NCSA profile, Kyle, is a great way to get that visibility, to have an online presence, social media, certainly a popular way for student athletes and college coaches to connect as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be the way you get your foot in the front door with college coaches and get on their radars in the first place, because they're getting hundreds of emails a day. They're hearing just generic information from student athletes saying, hey, I'm a good athlete, I want to come play at your program. Or maybe they're sending stats. Stats can be a little bit deceptive. Just an email is a good start, but if they don't have anything to go off of, it's really not going to help you all that much. So building up the profile with your stats, with your schedule, with your video, everything that a college coach is going to want and need to know about you, your transcript, that's all going to be huge and really be what separates you and gives them a chance to fully evaluate you. And you want to do that early on. You don't want to be going into a tournament on Saturday and thinking back to 2 days before in the new Destrian morning, wishing you had emailed them a week before then instead of just 2 days before the upcoming tournament. So it's about timing as well, knowing coaches have to plan out their summer to know where they're going to be, and not just emailing them a day or 2 days before, hoping they're going to show up and come watch you play. So it's a process, like we've talked about a lot. It's about getting ahead now for the upcoming spring, summer, future, and preparing for that and being able to follow up with coaches moving forward from there as well.
Pick up the phone, call a college coach, right? That's another one. So much of the world now is texting and, is done through email and social media. But again, another great practice is pick up the phone, call a coach, get on the phone with them, talk to them. Again, if that coach knows who you are and you've done the things ahead of time to get in that position to where that coach knows you, there should be an interest level. So the sooner you can get on the phone or Zoom these days, obviously that's been a big part of recruiting over the last year or so, with, again, coaches being limited to be out and about recruiting kids. But again, coaches, they have busy schedules. They have a lot going on. But if you can find a time to connect on the phone with them, that's where that relationship will really build versus sending a bunch of emails or social media messages or text messages. But prepare, right? Know what questions you want to have for that coach. Know about, what the program's all about, their academics, right? Practice it with a family member. Role play with your mom or dad, or if you're a parent, role play with your student athlete as to what that conversation with the coach goes like as well. But again, don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call a college coach. The worst thing that can happen is they don't answer and they never get back to you. But you don't know if you don't try. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. Click the logo to subscribe to our channel and check out all the other videos on our page for all things recruiting.